Have you ever wondered why your mind feels so heavy, even when life looks fine on the outside? It's like you're carrying a storm no one else can see. Smiling in public, breaking down in private, and the hardest part, most people won't even notice. That's because the real battles don't show up as bruises. They show up as overthinking, sleepless nights, fear you can't explain, and a constant voice in your head telling you you're not enough. Your mind becomes a battlefield, but not the kind with noise and chaos. It's quiet, deadly quiet. Because negative thoughts don't shout, they whisper. They creep in slowly, silently, disguising themselves as truth. One moment you're fine. The next you're doubting everything. Your worth, your future, your purpose. That voice keeps repeating. You're not smart enough. You're not strong enough. You're not strong enough. You'll never change. And over time, those thoughts don't just stay in your head. They shape how you see the world, how you see yourself. But here's something most people don't realize. You're not weak for feeling this way. You're not broken. You're human. And even the strongest minds get tired. Even the most faithful hearts feel heavy. That doesn't make you a failure. It means you're in a fight, and the fight is real. Psychology tells us that thoughts shape emotions, emotions shape actions, and repeated actions shape destiny. So when the mind gets flooded with darkness, your future starts looking dim, even if you still have light inside you. That's how powerful your thoughts are. They can build you or break you. That's why this silent war is so dangerous. You can look like you're winning to the world, but deep inside, you're barely holding on. You might ask yourself, why is this happening to me? Why can't I just stop thinking like this? But here's the truth. Negative thoughts don't need your permission. They show up uninvited. And the more you try to silence them on your own, the louder they become, because they feed on isolation. They grow in silence, and they thrive when you believe them. But what if I told you there's a way out? What if I told you that even in your darkest thoughts, God sees you? That you're not hidden, that your quiet pain hasn't gone unnoticed, that the one who created your mind also knows exactly how to heal it. You're not crazy for feeling overwhelmed. You're not weak because your thoughts scare you. You're not alone in this war. There's a deeper reason you clicked this video today. Something inside you knows there has to be more than just surviving. More than just getting through the day while battling your own mind in silence. And you're right, there is more. Because when God steps into your mind, He doesn't just give you comfort, He gives you power. He replaces fear with faith, doubt with confidence. Because by the end of this message, you'll understand something that can change how you think and how you live. You'll see how healing begins, not with more effort, but with surrender. Not by fighting harder, but by letting go. Your mind has carried too much for too long. It's time to let God take over. It's time to find peace, not by escaping the battle, but by realizing you're not fighting alone. The thoughts you're having are not your identity. The storm in your mind is not permanent. Healing is possible. Healing is possible. And you're about to discover how. Negative thoughts are more than just passing ideas. They are patterns, repetitive loops that convince you something is wrong with you. Even when everything seems right, they often begin quietly, then grow louder with time. A single moment of doubt can multiply into a habit of self-sabotage. And the scariest part, most people don't even realize how deeply these thoughts are affecting their lives. They shape the way you speak to yourself, the way you interpret other people's words. They poison your confidence, making you second-guess every decision. They turn your mind into a mirror that only reflects your flaws. And when that happens, peace becomes a stranger. You start living in survival mode. Always anxious, always tired, always pretending. The mind was never meant to carry that kind of weight alone. And yet, so many do. Day after day, walking around with emotional wounds no one can see. Smiling on the outside, screaming on the inside. Negative thinking doesn't just steal joy, it weakens your spirit. It breaks your focus. It makes you question your worth and delays your progress. It convinces you that you'll never get better, that nothing will change. And once you believe that lie, your mind becomes a prison. This is why it's so important to understand what negative thoughts are doing to you, not just mentally, but spiritually. They rob you of your identity. They distract you from your purpose. They create distance between you and the voice of truth. Because every time you listen to the voice of fear, you're turning down the volume on the voice of hope. But even in this struggle, there is something powerful to remember. These thoughts may be loud, but they are not final. They are not the truth. You have the ability to challenge them. And when God enters that space, When you invite him into the places your fear has lived for too long, everything begins to shift. Because God doesn't just deal with symptoms, he heals the source. And the source of healing starts where the lies lose their power. God sees what no one else does. Does. He sees the silent battles, the thoughts you never speak, the nights you lie awake, replaying mistakes, overanalyzing your words, and wondering why peace feels so far away. He doesn't look at you with judgment. He looks at you with understanding, because he knows what you've been through. He knows where the pain started, and he knows how to set you free. Sometimes we believe that because we're struggling in our minds, God must be distant. But that's not true. God is never far from a broken heart. He leans in when others pull away. He listens to prayers that don't even have words. Just tears, just silence, just heaviness. He recognizes the weight of anxiety, the sting of shame, and the pull of hopelessness. He doesn't turn away from it. He steps into it. Rina. This is where healing begins. Not with you fixing yourself, but with you realizing that God is already reaching for you. The very fact that you feel the battle is proof that your spirit is still alive, still searching, still fighting, and God meets you right there. Not when you have all the answers, but when you finally stop pretending to be okay. Psychologically, when you feel seen, your brain begins to relax. When you feel safe, your thoughts begin to settle. God provides that safety. He becomes a shelter when the mind feels like chaos. He reminds you that you are not your thoughts, you are not your past, you are not the lies fear has spoken over you. You are loved, you are known, you are chosen. And that changes everything, because once you know God understands the war in your head, you stop running from him. You start running to him. He becomes the light in the darkness, the calm in the noise, the anchor in the storm, not because the thoughts are gone yet, but because you're no longer fighting them alone. Healing begins the moment you stop pretending you're fine and start allowing God to take over the weight you were never meant to carry. It doesn't happen in one moment. It's not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it starts quietly, like a shift deep within your thoughts. A whisper that says, you don't have to live like this anymore. God doesn't force his way in. He waits for your permission. And the moment you open your heart, even just a little, he begins his work. He starts by revealing the thoughts that are not from him, the lies you believed for too long, the belief that you're not enough, the thought that you'll always feel anxious, the fear that things will never change. Those thoughts didn't come from God. And when you begin to see them for what they are, distortions, not truth, God can start replacing them. He doesn't just remove the lies. He replaces them with truth. A truth that goes deeper than emotion. A truth that restores your identity. That you are not weak. You are strong through him. That you are not forgotten. You are deeply loved. That you are not broken beyond repair. You are being rebuilt with purpose. That kind of truth rewires your thinking. It aligns your mind with peace. It renews your focus and lifts the fog of confusion. The mind begins to heal when it is no longer ruled by fear. When it is filled with truth, with hope, and with the presence of the one who never leaves. Prayer becomes more than words. It becomes the doorway to clarity. Scripture becomes more than text. It becomes medicine for the mind. Surrender stops being a sign of weakness and starts becoming the pathway to strength. You no longer have to fight your thoughts alone. God is not only listening, he is intervening. Not from a distance, but within your very mind. The healing may be quiet at first, but it is real. And every step you take with him pulls you further from the lies and closer to peace. When God begins to heal your mind, it doesn't always look like a miracle. Sometimes it looks like small changes that grow over time. You start thinking differently. Not because the problems disappear, but because you no longer face them with the same mindset. The negative thoughts begin to lose their grip. The old patterns that once controlled you start to fade. And slowly, you feel the shift. From chaos to calm, from fear to faith. One of the most powerful changes happens inside your identity. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of your thoughts and begin to see yourself as someone rising above them. You recognize the lies, and instead of agreeing with them, you reject them. You replace them with what God says about you. And this is where transformation becomes visible, not just in how you think, but in how you live. Gratitude starts to replace frustration. Even in difficult moments, you find reasons to be thankful. That thankfulness becomes a weapon against negativity. You begin to notice the good, the progress, the small victories. And in doing that, you strengthen your mind. Because gratitude builds resilience. It creates new neural pathways. It rewires your brain toward hope. Faith also begins to grow stronger. Not just belief in God, but belief that He is working in your life right now. You start trusting that healing isn't just possible, it's happening. You no longer panic when old thoughts try to return. You face them differently, with awareness, with truth, with peace, because now you have tools. You have clarity. You have strength that didn't come from within, but was placed in you by the one who never gave up on you. This transformation is real. It's quiet, it's deep, and it's lasting. The person you were when the battle started is not the same person rising from it now. Because when God begins healing your mind, He doesn't just give relief, He gives renewal, a fresh start, a new mindset. A mind that's no longer trapped by fear, but guided by faith. Peace doesn't come from ignoring the pain. It comes from knowing that even in the middle of it, you are being held. You are being held. You no longer need to be controlled by the storm inside your mind. God didn't create you to live in fear. He created you to live in freedom. And when He steps in, that freedom becomes real. It starts in your thoughts. Then it flows into your emotions, your choices, your habits, your life. Your life. You don't have to believe every thought that enters your mind. Just because a thought feels true doesn't mean it is. This is where wisdom begins. When you learn to pause, to question the thought, and ask, is this from God or from fear? That single moment of awareness is powerful. Oh, it breaks the automatic cycle. It opens the door for God's voice to come through. And His voice brings clarity, not confusion. Peace, not pressure. Truth, not torment. There will still be moments where fear tries to come back. That's normal. But you won't face it the same way. You'll have peace as your anchor. You'll respond, not react. You'll trust, not panic. You'll trust, not panic. Because now you know where your strength comes from. Not from how much you can control, but from who holds your mind in His hands. And as peace grows, fear begins to fade. Not because the world changes, but because you change. You walk differently. You think differently. You think differently. You carry yourself with quiet confidence because you've been through the mental battles, and now you know you're not fighting alone. You know God is working in your thoughts, renewing them daily, giving you a sound mind, one thought at a time. This is what healing looks like. Not perfect, not always easy, but real and lasting. You begin to walk in peace, not because life is perfect, but because you trust the one who is. And when that trust becomes your foundation, no storm can shake you the same way again.